Hello, this is Deborah Williams again, founder and CEO at A Key to a Way Out. And today I'm going to talk about the actual credit dispute process. Now, I've done previous videos starting first with you think you're ready to buy a home. And that led me to look at the fact that most of the people getting ready to buy a home are not ready. And one of the things that keeps them from being ready is the information that's shown. Oh my God. Hold on. I gotta find out. Okay. All right. Hopefully I'm in the right place. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulties. I'm still trying to learn this process. Um, the thing in particular, I'm trying to learn how to put the title up. Haven't learned that yet, but we're going to move on from this point. The last thing I said was that I had done a previous video about so you think you're ready to buy a home. And that led me to look at things like people are not ready, particularly because their credit reports are in need of repair or they need to elevate their credit scores. So today I'm going to talk about the actual credit dispute process. I've done a previous video sort of talking about what you need to do. So let's make sure that you've taken all of the preliminary steps. The first thing I suggested is that you order your credit report from the annual credit report website. That's www.annualcreditreport.com. And you should order them from all three credit bureaus. The second thing is that you should review your credit report to identify any inconsistent or inaccurate information. Thirdly, you were to prioritize your list so you'll know which item you're going to attack first for correction. And this is after you've corrected your personal identification information. And I also talked about setting up your base camp so you're going to be ready for the long haul. And in setting up your base camp, I suggested that you had 3 large folders, one for each of the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And inside of each folder, you'd have a subfolder for the items that you wish to address. Now, for the subfolders, you're going to need a cover sheet that identifies the item. On the cover sheet, you need to have a place for the actions that have taken place, the dates of the action, and your follow-up dates. Remember that inside of each folder now, for each item that you're disputing, you're going to have to keep copies of all correspondence. There's correspondence that you send to the bureau, letters that you receive from them, copies of your certified mail receipts, even copies of the envelopes with postmarks that you receive from the credit bureau. And the reason for this is you must keep good records. So now that you're armed for battle, the only thing that you must have is patience and persistence. Now, if you haven't done those things that I've just mentioned, then you need to stop this now and go back and find the previous video so you're ready. Now, also on the previous video, I told you that you're going to need pen and paper to personally write your dispute letters. And yeah, I know it's an online process. You could actually do this online. But when you use the online system, the credit bureaus have it set up where you can only, that they look at your information by code. So you select a code that best fits your category. And by doing this, using the online process, that makes it easier for them to reject your request. Plus, in the online process, the space you have to write your dispute narrative is very limited, and the complaint is going to be processed electronically. So, and you may or may not have the ability to send supporting documentation. And last but not least, there is no requirement for the Bureau to send you the results of their investigation. So it's going to be a quick investigation. Things in the system may cause it to be rejected because they say it's frivolous. But when you take time to write the letter, then the bureaus know that you are serious. Now, prior to writing your dispute letters, I suggest that you review samples to ensure that you're using the right format, but do not go verbatim for the samples because, again, they're looking for a reason to say that this is frivolous. So you don't want to use flowery words, and you want to be specific and straight to the point when you do your dispute. Now, the other thing is you only want to dispute items that are truly inconsistent or erroneous. Even if an item is removed, if it was a true debt and it was removed because the creditor didn't validate it in a timely manner, you're going to look up and it's going to be back on your report. So that was just a waste of your time. It may have done you some good because it was gone for a particular window. But what happens is the information is updated, so that may cause it to stay on your report longer than it would have otherwise. So make sure that the items that you are disputing are truly inconsistent or erroneous information. Now, when you're disputing the items on your credit report, it's not about offering an explanation saying, well, the reason this is late was because I was sick, I was in the hospital, I lost my job, there was death in the family. You don't want to do any of that, because when you do that, then you are admitting to the debt. And you don't want to admit to anything. You know, don't use statements like, I'm aware of the missing payment on March 31st, but I don't recall missing one in April or June. You don't want to do that. You would just say, I have no record of payment being missed in April or June, and if you happen to have documents to support that you did make that payment and it was timely, then you should submit copies of those documents. But don't admit to anything, even if it's accurate. Only challenge those things that are discrepancies, are erroneous, or inconsistent information. And also in your dispute letter, there are some key words that you should use. The words are inaccurate, erroneous, inconsistent, outdated, or something like, it's just not my account. Even if you know who established the account without your permission, just say it's not my account. Don't go into details saying I was with this guy and he set up stuff in my name and I was not aware of it. No details. Just say it's not my account. Now, for credit cards, you need to ensure that the credit limit is reported correctly. Your credit score is based on your credit limit versus the amount of credit that is being used. So let's say you had a $1,000 credit limit on your card and you only had, say, $250 charged to the card. But if the credit limit is showing at $500, then that's a 50% debt ratio. Or even if it's just shown at your $250 amount, that's 100% debt ratio. So you want to make sure that your credit limit is correct. Remember, the debt ratio accounts for 30% of your credit score. Then you also want to make sure that the items are listed correctly on your credit report. Let's say that you have a home and you have an equity line of credit. But instead of showing it as an installment loan, they're showing it as a revolving account. So you want to get that corrected. Or you had a short sale on your home and they're showing it as a foreclosure. then you need to get that corrected. Another important thing about your credit report is that you need to pay attention to the dates. If dates are inconsistent or just outright wrong, you need to pay close attention. And especially on accounts that are in collection, which I will talk about a little bit later. But most negative items will remain on your credit report for 7 years from the date that it was originally there. Okay, 7 years. Now, the credit bureau is not going to be so forthcoming in getting that information off of your account. So that's why it's important for you to take care of the dates and at least be aware of the dates and to monitor them to make sure information is coming off. And if it's not, then you will send a dispute because the information is outdated. Now, in the case of bankruptcies, they can remain on your account for up to 10 years. So look for items that, again, may be outdated otherwise and challenge them. Ensure that the dates are consistent with the information presented. For example, you have an account that has been reviewed for 6 months. However, it's showing that you have payments that were late prior to that 6-month period, or there's some indication that the payments were late. So all of this you need to make sure is correct. Now let's talk about collections and charge-offs. With collections, the original creditor has what they're called a debt statute of limitations for collection, meaning they have a certain period of which they can still sue you in order to collect the debt. The debt statute of limitations is different according to the state that you live in, and it has nothing to do with information that's aging off of your credit report. So you need to be aware of these dates because you do not want to take an action that would cause that period to start over again. This information for the debt statute of limitations can be found online. Google it, and you will find the information for your particular state for how long the creditor has where they can still collect on that debt. Okay? Now, the actions that you could take: you can settle the account, you can make a payment on the account. Those type of things will start that debt collection period all over again. So if you have a collection on your account and it's over a year old already, you may want to think twice about whether or not you want to take action on that. Because if it's a collection, remember, collections can stay on your account for 7 years. If it's a collection and you pay it off, it's still going to sit on your account for 7 years and it's still going to have the same effect. So you may not want to pay it off. You may not want to make a payment. You may not want to settle it or anything, but you need to look to see what's going to be to your advantage so far as that collection. Now, there are instances when you can contact the collection agency and make a settlement, but you're only going to make that settlement if they promise in writing that they will remove the information from your credit report. When you're looking at the collection information, this is a lot of time where you're going to find duplicated information. And the reason for that is the creditor will sell it to a collection agency. That collection agency will hold it for so much time and they will sell it to another collection agency. And this keeps going on and on and on. So be aware of that when you're looking to remove items from your report that have been duplicated. Also, on student loans, each student loan will be shown independently. So be careful when you're reviewing your student loans. But be aware that the credit agencies must provide you with a copy of the original paperwork with your signature that you had with the original creditor to validate that they have a right to collect the debt. If they can't provide this information to you, then they have to remove it. You also have a right to a record of the payment history. And this is all information that the credit agency should be able or is required to provide to you. So just be aware. Again, do not admit that the debt is valid, even if you know it is and it's in the hands of a credit agency. All you want is information from them to validate that it's a debt that they can collect on. And if they can't provide that to you, don't admit anything. Don't agree to settle. Don't do any of that unless the credit agency can provide you with the original copies of the original documentation showing where you went into agreement with the creditor, and also provide you with a record of the payment history. Now, if the credit agency is able to produce the required documents, then you need to determine your next course of action. Whether or not you're going to settle, meaning that they may accept, you may negotiate with them and they may accept a lesser amount to consider the account paid off, but you're not going to settle and you're not going to pay it off unless they agree to give you documentation stating that it will be removed from your credit report. Now, I hope that this information was valuable to you. If it was, please leave a comment below this video. If there was something that I could have done to enhance the information, again, please leave a comment below the video. Now, I do plan, if I can figure it out, to give you links to some sample letters so you can see what the format should be, get an idea of how it should be worded, but be careful again not to use verbatim wording. Again, once you start this process, you need to be in it for the long haul. Only dispute one item at a time. This is after you have completed the dispute or the correction of your personal information. Only dispute one item per bureau at a time. And the reason for that, if you give them too much at one time, they will consider it as frivolous and they do not have to complete their investigation. It's a long process. They have 30 to 45 days to reply. But even in the 30 to 45 days, make sure you are following up timely. What happens in most instances is you get off track, you don't stick to your timetable, and then nothing happens. So you have to stick to your timetable. You have to keep good records, and you have to be persistent. It's going to take patience to get through this, but it will pay off in the long run. Again, this is Deborah Williams, founder and CEO at A Key to a Way Out, and I will be talking to you soon. Have a great day.